1:54 p.m. and it's March 27th, 2024, the Weaver Agency of Roseman, California. In addition to the previous video I just did. Now, in the previous video, I gotta mention that I did the CBS Mystery Theater opening session with E.G. Marshall saying, welcome. It is a copyrighted material, so I have to put that on record. But it's such a cool tune listening to it for all these years, I tell you. Okay, so I was talking about uh, some of the stuff that Reverend Ed Trevors had been going over, in one particular lunatic, who mentioned about 7 things that if this was controlled, then we're all doomed because of the evil forces out there who are going to screw us over. I mentioned about education, religion, business, government/military, arts and entertainment, and media. Arts and entertainment media rolled up in one, by the way. But the only topic I didn't cover yet, and that's why I did the mystery theater theme before I realized what kind of time limit I had. So I decided to cut it short, but I am going to mention about family. What they worried about if people have a control over family members, one way or another, influencing them, that they may be influences in themselves, that may be the carriers of whatever kind of social or metaphysical plague we've got generated and that we're choosing to indoctrinate ourselves with. For some people, they use religion as either a disease, weapon, or something else. Brainwashing. But for those who are faithful in their religious beliefs, whatever they may be, sometimes you do have a question whether or not if one particular thing is going to overlap and overrun and overrule their own core values that that lived to believe in for all their existence. If I happen to say something totally derogatory, I'm not talking about using insulting language like I usually use, but I'm talking about something that may be insulting people's religions. I'm going to do a major apology at this point over here. I'm going to be using it as a hypothetical at this point over here. And some religions actually take they take it very personally on this point. Everyone picks on Christianity because it is, we keep insulting it, but we don't have the pushback or feedback, unless, of course, you're going to be that extremist in your own viewpoints that if you happen to insult one way or another, it's almost point of death. Well, I know one particular format and one particular religious belief and ideology, and has strong enough faith on that one that if anything is mentioned in any way, shape, or form against this one particular name, that I'd be asking for a fatwa. And I know other places that tried to make humorous jokes about it, claiming they had First Amendment rights. Well, the problem is, some things you just don't cross, period. But in dealing with certain religions out there, if you try to manipulate and force people to believe one way or another, it's a different thing, isn't it? I mean, we all want people to believe in something because we want to be part of a larger community, but forced upon people left and right, this is one of the things that we keep running across when you have extremists, one way or another. They want their stuff. I can think of a science fiction thing automatically to talk about. Borg. What is the Borg? Star Trek Next Generation, third or fourth. Let's see, first season, and then second season, conversing in the third and fourth season, and still the ongoing villain in the Star Trek universe. You're talking about living beings turned into machines, and they have to be the whole because that is the programming. You have to be part, otherwise you're going to be destroyed. You will add your distinctiveness to our biological nature. You'll enrich us. Yeah, well, we'll steal everything individually out of you, but physically you're going to be turned into a slave. Deal with that one. So, in that particular methodology, even it's been Not talked about on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Next Generation, they pick up on the thing, but Voyager really puts it into perspective on that. It really puts it into perspective on that. Why would I talk about Star Trek at this point? Well, gee, I don't know. Just something to talk about, I guess. I mean, we are talking about mentality here, aren't we? We're talking about control. We're talking about manipulation. We're talking about you have to because we say so. That's how I say every time I keep hearing about this stuff people are putting out. You have to believe it because we say so. We want you to be part of us. You have to be part of us. No, it's basically little kids want to be part of a larger nature because they didn't get enough positive attention from their mommies and daddies or whoever was raising these kids. So now we got these little monsters out there. We got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and we also have the Dr. Frankenstein and his creatures out there. I looked at them here, and I still have my tubes around my neck around here somewhere, not to mention the zipper on my forehead. But I'm not quite sure if I made myself or some of the mad scientists already made me this way already. And if I am not such a creature at this point over here, doesn't mean I'd have to deal with other monsters. Well, if I happen to go into 12-step recovery halls, probably. So if I am part of the 12-step recovery halls, then I already seen my own creatures, the own gothic natures, walking among us, talking among us. We act like normal people, outside of the monsters. But then again, we know about the monsters inside of us because we've already demonstrated that externally. So we understand that we are our own forces of nature that are freakish to a hell of a lot of people. That being said, when we have other people believing in different things left and right, are we going to be susceptible to it, or are we going to be breaking things apart, or are we going to try to find some kind of healthy boundary or gray area to survive with, not live with, survive in? But they still want conversion. They still want me to convert into this. I'm sorry. Talk to the hand. Said before in some of my postings for the Reverend Ed Trevors on this one and some of his chats, yeah. I wanted to say also other things in there regarding about, we want to be peaceful like Christ was, but sometimes we're Peter. We already see the danger in front of us. We're not contemplating that it's going to be our nature, our downfall. Either he was warning Peter or indirectly warning the Romans, or both. But if that's the case, then why are the angels also armed sometimes as well? The warriors. We're supposed to be followers of Christ. We want to show what Christ would be trying to teach us. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice in that thing. The story of, what was this? I don't know what the hell was it. World War One. Give me a second. I gotta do some research real fast. Alvin York. I was trying to remember this World War One history. I've seen the movie so many damn times, it's not even funny on that one. But I did see videos on it. Alvin York, when there was a movie out there made of him, World War One. I remember him. The film was called Sergeant York. It had something 1941, but there was a earlier film on him. If I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to get into the, let me see, legacy. Controversies, battles, also references. There's got to be something about that one. This configuration and this one. There we go. There we go. Gary Cooper. I was trying to remember that one. I can see the actor's face in my head, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Gary Cooper. My brother would watch this one all the time. God rest the soul and God bless the soul. Gary Cooper would interview and hang around Sergeant York, who was then Corporal York, but they promoted him to sergeant because it sounded better than corporal. And York would tell everything that he knew about warfare, anything and everything that he'd gone through, even the mannerisms, to make sure that Gary Cooper did everything he could to portray him on film. And watching this and seeing his trouble, troubled man, get into fights, get into anger and trouble and shooting things left and right. And then somehow there was an experience that scared the crap out of him. It put him on a path where, okay, enough what I was doing. God's trying to get my attention. He needs me for one thing. I got to do it. So he changed his life, changed his mentality. And it didn't matter what kind of denomination he was. He was a changed follower. He believed in God. He believed in Christ. He was reading both Old and New Testament, teaching it to people. Until World War I came and drafted his butt like everybody else. He went unwillingly, fought like hell, but in the end he had to go. And when he did go, he was in boot camp. They were training him. They also discovered what kind of a fine shot he was. So, he was going to demonstrate how to shoot. But he didn't want to go to war and fight. That was against his religion. But he didn't discover anything concerning about U.S. history or anything else. So when the company commander actually gave him a book. Now, I'm recalling this from the movie I'm seeing in the back of my head on this one. That it was about history, American history. And he had to balance it out between Caesar and God. The thing what the New Testament was trying to tell us something about. It's not about the mammon situation, the love of something. No, it was duty. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Render unto God which is God. Which means your faith, your trust, and what you believe in is in his hands. But your ass belongs to the military. And the country is calling you up to serve, to protect the country, so you can have the freedoms necessary to keep believing. Because otherwise you'd be dealing with a country that's going to be taking away everything else. And these days we're doing it to ourselves. We're taking away that which we covet so much that we're not recognizing a damn thing about it. I see things in a different way sometimes. I look at different medias and books and stories, trying to capture something relevant that means something to us. Someone else's artistic truth, one way or another, a little curl, little mustard seed, trying to get a plant grow down in the damn thing so we can understand what was going on. And when we'll finally actually see what the truth is, we may feel discombobulated and embarrassed as hell and humiliated and humbled about it. The next thing, we'll probably be pissed off enough to do something about it. In the end, Gark did what he could do to save his troops. And legend became larger and larger than life. Now, we're dealing with people who want their egos massively stroked because something in their lifetime didn't give them that. Maybe they wanted more. Maybe there was an innate nature to want it more. I don't think so. Maybe. I don't get it. I keep asking myself, why would God make this kind of crap in the first place? Somehow we get bitten by the damn bug one way or another, and then we're influenced. But then again, we have to do a lifetime our own corporeal selves in this realm to fight off that kind of crap. We have to make the choices. We have to make the decisions and the responsibility. We have to be accountable to the damn thing. We have to be transparent about the damn thing. But the problem is people don't want to do that. They want to blame the other person. So this is going out to a lot of people. So if I happen to point on one particular person, Mr. Artist in Recovery, can you raise your hand, please? Thank you, Daryl. Okay. So let's just say that you being a Trump disagreeer, that you're willing to do anything and everything you can. I'm putting it hypothetically here, pal. If I'm going somewhere in this one, I know I'm feeling dangerous ones right now. I'm feeling it. Because sometimes crossing the danger zone is not the easiest damn thing to get a point across. Now, Reverend Trevors, you happen to said something in your sermons concerning about language being difficult for you to use. You know it, but you don't like using it because it makes you feel uglier than hell. I've been using that language for a hell of a long while, and I'm already ugly enough as it is. Some people think I'm a good Christian. I'm not a good Christian. I'm a guy who's surviving left and right, but I try to be a Christian. Not the best. If I was, maybe I'd be a hell of a lot different than I am right now. I still believe in Christ. I still believe in the Sermon on the Mount, and I hold it in my heart. And being judgmental, I know I'm going to get my ass kicked on this one. I'm going to have karma coming up with a boomerang and say, you forgot something. Whap! You threw it out, but you didn't expect it to come back. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it comes. Don't move. Whap, there goes your head. A lot harder that time. Starting to get the bruises on that one. Upside the forehead, not to mention in the neck and the body parts. I'm tossing out the boomerangs left and right thinking, okay, it's not going to affect me much. Yeah, right, sure. I'm going to be ending up decapitated with my head on the ground, looking at people left and right, while the body's already been stabbed so many damn times for my own damn remarks. Metaphorically, shall I say. So if I'm going to start using examples like that, it's also going to be biting me in the butt on that one. Oh, look, here comes Cerberus. 3 heads on a dog. I wonder if he wants to be my pet or if I'm going to be his lunchtime right now. My own arrogance is going to get to the best of me at this point. My own indifference will be putting me in that kind of thing. But I cannot put myself on a focused situation here. I cannot keep myself like that. There has to be wiggle room somewhere or another. There has to be a gray area at this point. But everything's so damn polarized right now, it's not even funny. Polarized in our religion, actually in our beliefs, our political systems, polarized in our families. Everything is getting so polarized. I'm not quite sure if God is calling upon this one. Is he looking for absolutes? Is he looking for absolute servitude? Is he actually looking for Borg to be coming out? I mean, is this what he wants? And on that particular point of confusion is definitely the area needed for subversion at this point. Because questioning on that all the time. Always the slick sounding, smooth talking voice coming through. Saying, well, why don't you try something else? Or try this other line of reasoning here. This line of sanity here. Or insanity. It's like, well, once that happens, I know I'm screwed. I know I'm screwed on that one. So I have to watch it on myself as well. I have to keep putting my faith and trust in God. Even He made me a human being. It's my choices I still have to own up to. So regarding this 7-tier insanity situation, from one lunatic saying, well, all this stuff over here, if this is controlled by over here, you're in trouble. He's saying like it's today's news. Guy was talking about it 20 years ago. Where were we 20 years ago? We had George W. Bush during that time. We had the Gulf War II continuation happening in Afghanistan, but also in Iraq. We had the Twin Towers already blasted to hell, or collapsed. So I had a hell of a lot of anger. Economy going to screw up at that point. And we're going to be coming into a financial meltdown a few years after that. We have Islamic, anti-Jewish, anti-Islam, Islamophobia going on. We had racial things happening, but we didn't see any parades. Slowly but surely, Congress is mutating into something because we had a Freedom Caucus, or was it a Tea Party? Something like that, trying to brew up. But this was happening, and we also had synagogues and temples getting torched, not to mention a few churches here and there. Yeah, trying to keep all that information in my head. We have also had other television shows trying to reflect what the quote-unquote American values are supposed to be. During the 80s, we had Ronald Reagan and his tough-sounding stuff. And what do we have? Kill the commies, kill the commies, kill the commies. We must use guns. We must use violence. We must use this stuff. We are the A-team. We're going to get the bad guys, whoever they may be. And again, what did we have? Jewish temples. No, we had synagogues. We had churches. We had race riots going on. We did this to ourselves. So yes, in politics has a way of affecting us one way or another, but we already had the damn thing going on inside ourselves because we already had it. We just didn't want to talk about it as much. We didn't make it known, but it was always there. History keeps teaching us this stuff, but we don't pay attention to the damn thing. We worry about the language of becoming the enemy here. Reverend, look in the mirror. You see your face, right? I look in the mirror. I look in the camera all the time when I'm doing this kind of stuff, but sometimes I don't. But when I do, you know what I see? I see my own worst enemy. I also see another guy. Conflicted, confused as hell, but also shows different things. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I different? What's the same? I don't know. I know I've talked about on my channels about the one topic and different viewpoints, looking at truth, looking at the truth, but we have different viewpoints looking at the damn thing, and we don't get the whole picture. We think that we're following Christ as much, and we think we're holier than thou. And what are we doing? This is going to be pulled off of YouTube if I actually follow through with that thought or wording here. Suffice it to say that everything that Christ would say is an opposite. But we're going to follow Christ and going to follow God in the name of them to do heinous. You can think of it, just don't see it in private media. They'll pull your ass out of here faster than anything else. I know. But this is how it is. We're worried about how we're going to be looking at the politicians at this point over here. Well, the politicians are us. Our democracy puts in people. No matter what differences they've got, they put people in. They put butts in the chair for voting. That's how our system works. The people vote the representatives in, no matter how screwed up they are. No matter how insane they may be. But they're supposed to be doing the jobs. Are they? People worried about if the faith and the churches are losing people left and right. Christ, or shall I put it in a different term? God, in whatever kind of name or format He uses for people to worship in He's still calling upon those who depend upon Him, who love Him, but know something about Him that doesn't jive right with the human situations we got coming over here. I try to put this into a perspective if I can. For a Christian, I'll use Christ, but I know Christ was a Jew. Christ was a Jew. He was born in a Jewish family. He was born in a Jewish faith. And he taught principles beyond that. And people learned from those principles and passed on with what they've learned and became followers of Christ. Therefore, he became Christians in that particular format because of the teachings he was doing, even though he was Jewish. Pisses people off left and right when you use that word. Because of history. I said again, history. We have an extensive history going back long time. We just don't understand sometimes how and why it's relevant to our day and age until it's way too damn late. I'm not a study. When I was growing up as a kid, I was stuck in media. I was stuck in news. I was stuck learning about books and stuff. I was reading stuff. Had a book surgically implanted on my face if I had to, or in my hands, just have a book here and have a book here. Yeah, a book in my back pocket, literally. Difficult to eat food that way, If you had a book in one hand and had a book in the other hand, how do you eat? How do you drink? How do you live? How does one take care of the other necessities that the body demands? I appreciated the sermon today. I really did. And there was a lot of things that people are touched upon that they're terrified of, that they're angry about. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration. They're wondering whether or not if our faith and our religious beliefs are going to be torn apart left and right. God called the church through His Son, Jesus Christ, and we're going to be going through the Christianity route here. God called the church. He wanted His followers to ask for people to join, not force, but ask. If they understood, they believed, if they read, if they learned, then maybe they were okay about it. Maybe they wanted to know more. Maybe they had the curiosity. Okay, fine. It's a long road of belief and of faith that don't trust, because it requires sometimes blind obedience. Me, on the other hand, I had to be closed up to that point. A lot of videos talking about my own religious animosity. Didn't mean I was an atheist or anything else. No, I was Christian. I was raised a Methodist. But the thing is, I still had to believe. I may get book knowledge about it and pass seminary classes left and right, or church classes on that one, but I still had to believe. I really had to believe. I still have to do that these days. It matters to me a great deal. Has to. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that if I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, I have no qualms about that. I have no issues with that. Just sometimes the choices I made kind of probably separate us from, but I still had them watching over my shoulder, so. But I still have to be reminded from time to time. Easter's coming up. That's one of the reminders. Hey, you. You okay, Mama? She's having a hard time today. My dog. Anyway, that's me enough belly aching about things like this. There may be more stuff coming down the road, and I'll keep people informed. Meanwhile, I had to do this plug. Oh God, I'm gonna feel sick. In order to get more viewerships for the YouTube, I have to ask people to like these videos to make sure this stuff is going to be easily acceptable to people. We are requesting people to subscribe to this channel, and I'm also requesting people to put their comments for the analytics. I am also requesting feedback from people at this point to understand where things are going. And if people are dropping off like flies left and right, I had nothing to do with squishing the flies. They got in the way. I had a magazine. I went whap! I got glue sticks all over the place. I'm sorry if they're dropping off like flies, but I think my viewerships are getting stuck to the fly strips I've already put on. I have a bug war dealing with here. I have boxes with traps in them. So if you are one of the flies or the bugs coming over here to see how I am, oh, I'm sorry, but apparently you got stuck by one of them. Uh, was I getting a public service announcement or what? Crap. Yeah, I'm that way. Anyway. Until then, guys,